Okay, now I think you can all see me. So tonight we are doing the life events card class, and while we're waiting for people to get signed on, I have to refill my tape gun. So for any of you that have ATG guns out there, I'm gonna start with that just as a kind of a funsy thing to do. Um, so anyways, but we're doing our life event card class tonight. I'm going to have my mom take us down to the table, and then we'll just have the samples there for a minute, but then I am going to refill my tape gun. So if anybody needs a tutorial on tape gun refilling, I'm going to do that first.
It's not taking it down there. Oh, there it goes. All right.
Okay, so these are the cards we're doing, minus one. I don't have the baby card here. So we have our retirement card, our sympathy card, our wedding card, our graduation, and then there's also a baby. And then the other thing that we're doing is the scored card holder that you can put cards in. So, but let's start just for a second while people are getting signed on. I have my ATG gun, and mine get used a lot, and it just ran out of tape when I was doing a demo the last time, so I need to refill it. And I just noticed that today, and I have people all the time saying, can you just show me how to do it? So we're going to do that right now. So inside the tape gun, there are arrows in here that show you the way the tape goes. It starts on here, feeds there, around there. Oh no, it actually starts on here. Feeds underneath, over the top, and then winds around this one. So I usually pull my tape up, and yep, that sometimes happens where my end breaks off. That's kind of a pain in the butt. So, and this sometimes happens too, where the tape is on the wrong side of your spool, which I see some people comment on that on Stamp Junkies. So you just kind of break it off and you want it on that top. So anyways, that's what to do if your tape is on the wrong side of the spool. So because you want it on the top, and I'm going to plunk it down here, feed it around. You can pull your trigger, which will let it advance. And I just wind that all the way around. Not all of you have ATGs, but some of you do. And I also have my pink one too, but this is the 1/2 inch one. This is a super old one. I usually pull it so it's long enough. There's a couple little slits here, so I feed it in my slits and around, and then I just kind of wind it until it's on top of each other. Now my tape is actually starting right here, so now I do just kind of roll my tape down. Whoops, I didn't wind it quite far enough. But I just kind of roll my tape all the way back down to the beginning of where it's going to come out. This thing, I used to think that you did not need it, and I was like, well, that's a pretty stupid thing, and I used to not put it back in my guns. But you really do need it, because this tape, as it winds around, sometimes it starts to slide up, and then it will rub right here. So this prevents that from happening. So you just put that in there. So, but my tape is kind of starting right there. So that's how to refill your tape gun. Now we will get started, because now I'm all ready to go. So for class, you will need adhesive, like an ATG gun or whatever type of adhesive. You need some little bit of adhesive, either the microdot adhesive sheets or glue for right here. For this one, you need foam tape, but we supplied that to you. You need markers, so part of your homework was to color this one and then also color your little elephant, but they're really easy colors, so if you didn't color them, you can just do that while I'm talking away. But we are going to start. Every card that we have is some type of window card, so I will talk about products while we are making the cards, and I'll show you the products. So, but I'm going to make them from start to finish with you. we're going to start with the baby. And we're starting with the baby because I am going to be a grandma, believe it or not, in the next few days. So on Sunday, if she doesn't go before then, they're inducing her. So our son and our daughter-in-law, so it's our first grandbaby. So we're pretty excited about that. Anyways, so our baby card. We have a mini window card, and then we have a mini window overlay. Now, these don't come printed. I did print them for you, and this is a discontinued stamp from Impression Obsession. So this card kit is available as a 3-count kit on our almost done card kit section. So it's under die cut cards and kits, and then there's a section that says almost done card kits. So in the almost done card kit, you get basically everything that you have here. But these you can get blank, and they do come in different colors. So we have our mini or circle window card, and I think it's supposed to say mini circle on there, and it doesn't. And then our mini circle window overlay. So these do kind of fit together. The overlays are available in 26 colors. They do come a bulk variety that you can get 2 each of all 26. The cards, I think, come in 20 colors. And I don't think that bulk variety, or it might be, available online. So that's that product. So now to get this layer right here, so I wanted a layer in between, but I kind of liked the white on white, so I didn't want this circle cut smaller because I didn't want my gray border on the inside there, just because it was got to be too dark. So what I did to get this circle was I took one of our circle dies and I just cut that out. Now for placement, I just kind of took it and, set that on there, kind of guesstimated where it should be, and then I just die cut a whole bunch of them. So you just didn't want to do it too close to any of your edges because you want that to be totally covered up. So we can go ahead and start attaching. Oh, there's one other piece in this kit besides the envelope, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But we can start attaching. So this one doesn't matter which side because it's the same on both sides. And you're not doing this one you're not looking at the windows when you do this one. You are just looking at the outside of the card. So there is a slight border all the way around the outside. So don't pay attention to the window, okay? Because this was just randomly cut and it might be perfectly centered and it might not. Sometimes when I am layering on a scored card, rather than have it folded and have to worry about that bouncing up at you, I'll open it up flat, just because then you're not fighting the fold of the paper. So, and if you have any questions, as always, feel free to ask them, and my mom will interrupt me, and we'll answer the questions. I do try to go nice and slow. I try to repeat stuff just so there's about a 30-second lag, and then we can catch up, or you guys can catch up to where I am with your questions. But anyways, and also if you're missing something tonight, you can put it in your comments because I'll go review these. But if you're watching this like a few days from now, so say you're watching this a week from now, don't put it in the comments. Then you need to email or message me. And sometimes it's just better to email or message me anyways, just because then I can print it off. Email is actually the best because then I can print it and it doesn't get lost. So anyways, we're just attaching this layer on there first, just centered on the card. So this is probably our easiest card, and again, we're on the front. Now you can pop this up if you want to, and then you would just put foam tape all around the outside. Now I did use this, I had to go to a baby shower, so I did use this and I gave it away for a baby shower. So I don't have my actual sample, but I'm making it with you. So again, either tape or foam tape on the back of the printed layer.
Kathy Moore says it would be cute to color some of the words.
Yes, you definitely could color the words. I was just about to say that, Kathy. You read my mind. But yes, you could color like the word love. You could color that if you knew it was a boy or a girl. You could color it pink or blue, or multiple colors. Or you can even, do some brush blending on there also if you didn't know if it was a boy or a girl.
Yeah,
So,
grandma and great grandma. Yeah, we are.
so line up that one. Okay, now we have the inside of the card. I did print, because I didn't want to stamp them, I printed a insert for on the inside. So it's again our tone on tone, it's our white on white. But I did attach this first, and for my placement, for my words, I made sure they weren't up too high. Now I could do, I could do a separate piece attached. I could attach a piece right to the front like that and then attach my pieces, and then you could open it up, but I didn't. I wanted a see-through window. So I'm going to just center our layering swatch on the inside. So now all of these cards are A2 cards because they will fit into our scored card holder. I was going to do a mid-size window card, and then I'm like, no, I can't do that because it won't fit into our scored card holder. Not like you have to give these cards out, but I just want to show you the scored card holder and how it does hold cards, and it makes a cute little gift. So for this one, now this is that exact size, so you can, lay the front down and kind of push it through that if you wanted to. So put tape on it, and again, if you want to pop it up, go ahead and pop up. I'm just going to attach this one straight down, and then I'm going to pop up my little elephant. So I can put that kind of in there, give it a little push, and then pick up on the front of the card. So that gets attached right on the inside. So then it's perfectly lined up. So I just kind of set it right in there, gave it a little push, and then I picked up the front of the card. And our little elephant I am going to do with some foam tape. Now for coloring my elephant, I just used gray, a little bit darker gray. I did do the little pink toenails down there, but then I did use like a paint pen on the dots. Now this is where you could add blue or pink if you wanted to, but I did use a paint pen, and also a glitter pen will work too to give it a little bit of shimmer. Or even some little pearls or some little gems would be nice on there. So I'm just going to use foam tape on the back of this one. Now, I don't know if I've shown you guys this. For my foam tape, I always pre-cut my foam tape, so that does save me a lot of time when I'm card making. I just use a ribbon spool thing. I pre-cut a bunch of my foam tape, so then it just pops right off. So that's just a little tip. I keep those in my stamp room. I also use them when I have in-person classes. So our little elephant's going to go right there. Now, you're probably saying, what is this little guy here for? This is one of our little gift card envelopes, and it also works great for a little gift card holder. So I'm going to seal this, so I'm going to lick it. Or you can use your tape gun, so I sealed it. Now, depending on if you want your gift card to go up and down or horizontal, which we're going to put it right here, so we're going to cut this off horizontally. So I'm just going to cut it, I don't know, a little bit, probably at about 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to take my envelope, I sealed it, and you can seal it by licking it, which is kind of gross, or you can use a tape gun, which would have been the better option, but I didn't think of it. And I'm just going to cut my envelope in half horizontally, not in half, but I cut it at 1.5 inches. And you could stamp something right here, like a congratulations or whatever you want, and you just put that inside but this makes a nice little pocket. So you attach that on the inside of your card, and then your little gift card can sit there. Now I was going to bring a gift card up here so I could actually show you, but I don't have one. But my mom might have one in her pocket.
Credit card?
Credit card will work, yep.
All right.
So attach it fairly close to the bottom. Once I get the credit cards, then I can show you a little bit better. So credit cards and gift cards are the same size.
Oh, here's a little gift card from Pizza King.
Oh, can I get a darker one?
Sure.
Because that one's more white.
Okay.
Oh, the orange one, Home Depot. We'll pretend it's going to be a boy. And he likes trucks. Anyways, so you could put your gift card in there. You don't want to do it up too high if you're dealing with a window on the inside of a card. So you want to make sure that your gift card ends up all the way inside and isn't showing through your window. But you can just go ahead and attach that in, and like I said, you can stamp something else cute right here, the word congrats, or you can attach some little dies right there, and then you just put your little gift card in there, and then you have your baby card. So I better give the store credit back to my mom.
Yeah, because Ron's going to use it. 'Cause he's going to get some wood or something. Oh, it's $37.50.
So here's our baby card. So just a little trick with this, if you cut it the other way, that's what I normally do when I'm doing something vertically, because then I'll put it, you know, in this way. I'll cut my envelope the other way. But I use these on the backs of some of my cards, like on the back of a magic card or on the backs of some of the cards for where I'm going to attach my gift card, especially for some of those, you know, slider type cards, and I'm just going to attach it on the back. One day I was making one where I was like folding my paper in and making my own little pocket, and I'm like, well, this is really stupid. We have little envelopes. We'll just cut that off. So that worked out really good. All right, let's go on to
Audio is strange. Anyone else having trouble?
Is it cracking? How is the audio strange? Okay, let's go on to our retirement card. And this is one of our window overlay kits. So the window overlay kit, this is a scallop oval double window overlay kit. So it has
Two people are saying it's cracking, Sarah.
the window card. I'm not sure why it's cracking. Ever since we had that audio problem a couple weeks ago, I've noticed when I listen back that I hear some cracking, so I do need to look into that. I was just thinking it was maybe that day, and I got one of those little muffler things for my microphone that's supposed to take any of that static out, so it obviously isn't working. Sorry about that. So anyways, our window cards, we have our window card, we have our overlay, and then we have our scallop overlay. Now they don't come embossed like you have them. I did emboss them, and the kits come and they're not attached, so you can pull that out and emboss it or stamp it. So that's our scallop double oval. We also have a scallop double circle. Usually on the inside of these cards, I'll attach a layering swatch or a text insert. So because you're going to see through whatever color is on the inside of that card. So for this particular one, I have a white layering swatch that I pre-printed with the words and the golf ball. So now you were supposed to pre-color that. And then I also said that you could add some crystal lacquer or diamond glaze to your golf ball. That will add a little bit of dimension there. But I'm going to do that last. I didn't pre-do that on mine. So let's do our attaching first. So we can attach this layer right to the inside. So we'll attach that right to the inside. Now, the inside of your card is always the bump. Okay, the bump is the inside, and that gets folded to the inside. Now you can see some of my words right here, but I conveniently covered those up with my layers. Okay, so now we're going to attach our next layers. Now I have had people say that mine doesn't fit because they'll put it on there and it will be off center. Okay, this one, if that happens, you just need to turn that around, because this one is just slightly, very slightly higher up. This oval is slightly higher up. It looks like it's right in the middle, but it's not. So if by chance yours doesn't fit correctly, just turn it around. Okay, and then this one will fit on there also. Now, we do have a different oval. And I'm just going to bring this down here. So this one that we're working with, which is the frog and the raccoon, are the mini oval. This one is just a regular oval, and you can see that this one is closer to the top and it is a little bit wider of an oval. Okay, so you have more room down on the bottom. So be careful when you're ordering parts separately. You don't want to order the mini window oval card and the regular oval overlay, because they won't fit together. So just a caution. And these are the double circles. So. Okay, so now we're going to attach our layers on the front. And again, if it doesn't fit, just turn it around. So if things get a little discombobulated while you're taping, just make sure before you stick that you have it the right way. Now this one, you want the bumps up, so your embossing you want up towards you. Or maybe you like it the other way, that's up to you. And I attached that. Now, for our other layers, the green piece is cut to its exact size. And I like to layer them up, these layers, and then attach them to the front of my card. But if you're working ahead, when you're attaching this piece, don't put tape on the whole back, because it will cover up your window opening and you'll tape your card shut. So you just want to put tape on the sides and on the bottom. So tape on the sides and on the bottom. And I did pop that up with foam tape. So I did foam tape this green layer, and again, I only put foam tape, and I'm going to go ahead and do that, even though I'm not going to put it down yet, but just to show you, I put foam tape and then when I flip it over, so this is on the bottom and the sides. Our gold piece is cut the exact length. But on our sample, oops, I turned that one upside down. On my sample, I cut my ends a little bit shorter. So I am going to take a little snip off the ends, so you can use a personal paper trimmer, or if you're a go for it kind of gal, you can just snip a little bit off. So, and that's up to you how much you want to snip. If you trust yourself making 2 snips, go ahead and make 2 snips. I think I'm going to leave well enough alone and just let that be. Now, for our, you want to cut your front one. Now, I did cut it in at an angle, but I want to cut it to my length first. And then I did take a pencil and just put a little bit of a pencil mark there, which I think I forgot to tell you to bring a pencil. But, okay, so I'm going to cut this one to my width first. So I'm going to take a little snip off the ends. I probably took a little bit too much, but hey, that's okay. Actually, now I'm going to trim a little bit off of here. That's one thing, once you start trimming, sometimes you trim and trim and trim and you trim it way too small. So sometimes it's better to just leave it alone. And now I'm not happy with that. Oops. Okay, so now when I did my angle cutting, now you can just leave this if you don't want to go ahead and do the little snips. But if you do, you can kind of just put a little pencil mark there, so then you know what you're aiming for. And if I want to make it exactly the same, I would get a ruler out. I don't really care that much. But you could take a ruler, measure from here to here, measure from here to here, and that's what you're aiming for when you're doing your little angle cuts. So now I'm just going to take my scissors and snip from that corner into my dot, and then this corner into my dot. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. But I find if you have a little dot there, then you know what you're aiming for. And if you're like OCD and you aren't going to be happy if it's not perfect, maybe skip this part. So there's that one. So then I'm going to cut from the corner into my dot, and then my other corner into my dot. And again, it's a handmade card. It doesn't need to be perfect. If you ever give a handmade card to somebody and they criticize it, then they're off your handmade card list. So there, it's that easy making your own little do-jobs, your inner facing arrows. So I did just put tape on the back of here and attached it, so that's what I'm going to do right now. Not smart having green on green. So tape on the back of my gold. And I'm just going to attach that onto here centered. And then I did use foam tape on the back of my little flag. So a little bit of foam tape on the back of my flag. And again, you guys can use as much foam tape as you want.
The more the better.
Yeah, Jennifer, if you do Stamplistics, she is the more the better for foam tape. She tells you to use a lot of foam tape. So then I just popped that up. Okay. Now, when you're putting this on here, just a reminder, we want to cover up these words that are right here. So do not put tape all the way around. If you do that, you're going to put it on here and you're going to stick that shut. And you can raise it up or lower it, but just make sure that you're not having any adhesive go through that window. So I have foam tape on the sides and the bottom. And then I just flip that over. So foam tape only on the sides. You never want your foam tape or any adhesive over the top of that open window. So then we're just going to stick that on there. Now the last thing I'm going to do is my crystal lacquer. So see how you don't want any foam tape right there. So, and if you wanted to cover this part up, like you don't want to see that on the inside, you could put another little, stamp or do job right here just for an accent, or, a big congrats or something right there. So that would be kind of fun. Or you could do one of your gift card holders on the inside of here below your window also. So I am using diamond glaze. So and then we're going to let that dry. Now, I probably need a pin. Let's see how good my diamond glaze is working today. And diamond glaze, crystal lacquer, they're the same, basically. I use them interchangeably. I use them for glue a lot, but they do add dimension. So now you don't want to set anything on there for a while. So maybe by the end of the night it'll be dry. So I'm going to go ahead and set this one behind me so I don't have to worry, because Murphy's Law has it that you have that glue right there, you're going to set something on it and then you're going to mess it up. So set it way off to the side. So there's our golf card. So just a very simple retirement card. Let's see, we did baby, we did retirement, so we did opposite ends of the spectrum. Let's do our sympathy card, because unfortunately you need sympathy cards. It's just fact of life. So now one of your, now I've used this die before, just because I don't have that many sympathy dies, and I really like it. And I toyed with something else, and then I just came back to this. This one I did tell you to weed that out before class, but if you are weeding it out now, it does take a little bit of patience, and if by chance it isn't all the way cut, let me know. I know it was getting stuck a little bit in through by the M, but if you take like a pin and push right on that where it's cut, usually it'll come apart. So I'm going to talk for a little bit though. So if you're weeding, just go ahead and weed. I'm going to talk about some products. So first we have a trifold window card. So this is an A2 card that is a trifold window card, and we don't have this window as a bifold. So we are actually going to take and cut right on the score to cut one of those off. So where did my sample go? So the sample, we did not take that third flap and fold it behind. I kind of wanted this a little loose in there, so it was a little bit dimensional. And I also printed my words on the inside. And the words have to do with stars in the sky. And that's, you can kind of see the stars in the sky on there. So I did cut off one flap because we do not have just a fold over card with this size window. So this is our trifold window card, and then we cut a flap off. So go ahead right now, if you're done weeding, and cut off one of those flaps. It doesn't really matter which one. If we cut this one off, this is the front. If we cut this one off, then that would be the front. Boy, it's really hard to see on my little cutter right here. So be very careful to cut right on that score. And then you can just save this piece as a extra piece.
I don't know why that's doing that. I turned it off.
So, okay, so we have our window card. This is just our extra piece of cardstock. Now let's talk about some of the other pieces that we have here. So we have our text insert that I already printed on. We have, this is our it's our rectangle overlay. So the rectangle overlay fits over the top. It doesn't fit like this one where you have the border on the inside. This one covers up the edge. So you can see, well, maybe you can't see, but there's black inside there. If I can just turn it over. So you will see some of that black inside there. And that's okay, because that's kind of why we used that text insert. So then the other thing is this printed picture. Okay, so the printed picture is on our printable acetate. One side feels a little grittier than the other, and one side, and that's the side with the printing, and it actually looks a little bit duller. The other one looks a little bit shinier, and that's the side that it's not printed on. So it was actually printed on this side. When I'm attaching it inside, where I'm going to use, where I'm going to attach like words over the top of it, I do want my shiny side up, because if I have my printed side up and I get glue, excess glue, it could take off the printing. So very important, I usually will put my non-printed side up. Okay, when you're printing it, oh, question?
Can you go over the cut again?
Sure. So this was our 3-panel rectangle window card, okay, and you're just cutting right on one of the scores. Use a sharper trimmer than I have, because I did have, you know, I do have a kind of a raggedy edge right there. But it doesn't matter. Like, you could cut off this side or you cut off this side. You just want to cut on the score. Okay, so you're just going to cut one panel off. And like I said, it doesn't matter whether you cut off this side or this side, because you're ultimately, this is the front of your card. And if you turn it, if you cut off one side or the other, you're just going to turn it around and make it the front of your card. And then, excuse me.
Just a thank you.
This piece is just an extra piece. And you can like take and tuck that behind, except I wanted with this card, I wanted a little bit of dimension here. I didn't want it totally flat against it. I wanted it a little bit loose, just because it just adds a little bit, you know, of interest and dimension there. And the sky gets darker and lighter depending on how close it is, you know, and what light is going through there. So that's why I cut that off. You don't always have to cut it off. Most of the time you're going to use it, you're going to fold it behind. Okay, it's just for the card I was doing, I wanted it off. So now we're using our acetate. So this is our inkjet printable acetate, and it is a little bit rougher on one side. Now it's hard to feel, but it is rougher on one side than on the other. That's the side you print on. So you print on the slightly gritty side, okay, depending on your printer. And usually I will test a piece of paper before doing this. So I'll actually take a piece of paper, I'll write down, I'll put that down in my printer, and then I can test which side it printed on, okay? So you always want to know which side you print on. So like mine, my rough side had to be down, and it went through and it printed and then pulled it up around like that. So now when you're printing with the inkjet printable acetate, you do want to pull each page out of your printer and just kind of set it somewhere to dry, okay? Because you don't want them all piling up on each other, or you don't want to take your finger and go plunk, because you will get a fingerprint there. Okay, so just be very careful when you're printing it. Print one sheet or watch your printer, pull them out as they're coming out, set them somewhere to dry if you're printing multiples. Now, if you're saying, I don't know what kind of printer I have, inkjet or laser. If you have big cartridges like this, that's a laser printer. It's got dry toner in here, and it lays down heat to bind the toner to your paper. If you have these little ones, it's a wet ink. That's an inkjet. It sprays the ink out of the thing, and it just dries on your paper. So that's why you have to print on the rough side, or it will never dry.
She has a color, Mary
Question.
Beth has a color laser printer. Is it the same?
A color laser printer, because this is for my color laser printer. So you have a toner cartridge, and your paper is hot when it comes out. So we do have just our regular acetate, and it does say for heat quality, where you can put it through a laser printer, color laser printer, a copier, because those all bind with heat, and they bind a toner. So there's this one, and then there's the inkjet. The inkjet isn't meant for heat, so you don't want to put your inkjet printable acetate through your laser printer. Okay, now it does say that it stands heat, so for embossing, it will, you could emboss on it, but if you hold your heat tool on even the heatable acetate, it will go psh. So you want to always, if you're embossing, heat embossing, you always want to just keep moving that around and don't overheat it, because it is plastic. It will melt. Even though it says it's for heat and it can go through your laser and it can go through your copier, it will still melt if you heat it too much. So yes, know what type of printer you have. A laser printer, use our regular, and you have the big cartridge. An inkjet printer has the littler ones with the wet ink, and you want the inkjet printable.
Question.
Question.
Should you check your settings on your printer
Um,
and change them according to paper? And
I do play around with, not so much my laser. My laser, I just put it on light paper. I usually don't change it to transparency. You certainly can change it to print transparency. My inkjet, though, that one I did play around with a little bit. So my inkjet printer, it's a fairly new printer, and it has all kinds of settings, and I did kind of have to play around with it to figure out which one. Now I did go with the presentation paper matte, and then depending on the picture, I might have picked the higher quality printing versus regular printing. So that you might have to play around with a little bit through the inkjet. So I don't know, I have an Epsom, and that one printed really nice. I tried the premium glossy, and that was okay. I tried just regular paper, that did not work good. So you do want to pick like one of the coated. There wasn't a transparency setting, so that's why I went with the presentation paper matte or the presentation paper glossy, because this is more of like a plastic or a hard slippery surface, which is like what those types of papers are like. So, but if there is a transparency setting on your inkjet printer, definitely go with your transparency setting. With your laser, if there is a transparency, you can go with it, but I have just printed on my regular paper setting. So you don't want to do a cardstock setting though, because when you set it at like a cardstock setting, it takes it through slower and it heats it up more to bind it. So you don't want to do that with even though it's a heatable acetate, you still want to, use either the light paper setting or the transparency setting for the laser. So, any more questions on that?
what acetate do you recommend for no printing? Just say shaker or window card?
Yep, then I would use this one. I would use the laser one. It's less expensive. It's smooth on both sides. They're about the same weight. But yes, definitely if you're just using for shaker cards, go with the regular acetate. Mostly because of price. And it's also available in like a postcard size also. So definitely. And we'll talk about these again on our other cards too. So anyways, so we have our overlay and we have our acetate. We want to put tape around the inside of the overlay. Now the overlay does not have a right or left side. And what I like to do is I like to lay this down and look at what I'm actually going to be looking at. Okay, so this is what I'm actually going to be looking at. And mine, I do have a little, I nicked that as I hit it on my fingernail, so I do have a little scratch on mine. So you can, like when it's still wet, you know, if you nick your fingernail on it, you will end up with a little scratch on it. But I like to lay it down, so I'm looking at the glossy side up. My printed side is down. And I like to actually just look through my window and see exactly what's going to be in there. And don't, like, especially if you have a paper surface underneath you, don't like set it down and push it because you have adhesive back there. I just kind of want to kind of tap it to pick it up. So I have my glossy side up, my printed side down, and I'm going from the top because then I can see what I'm doing. Now you certainly can turn it over and do it this way. I just think it's harder to see your window and your alignment. So I do like to do it this way. Now there's always more than one way to do things. So you do whatever you're comfortable with. And I'm only setting it on my card. Well, here, let's do this. Then you'll, no, I can't do that. These are all printed on. Okay. So ignore that my card is there. Have your glossy side up, your printed side down. I have tape just around my window. And now I'm not going to push all the way down because otherwise my adhesive will stick to my backing paper or my work surface. I'm just going to kind of get it where I want it, and I'm just going to kind of tap it to pick it up. And then I can turn it over and give a little push just around the outsides. Now don't go rubbing on your printing, you know, just give a little push around the outsides. And now I'm going to take and I'm going to put tape again just around the outside, and now I can do it closer to the outer edge, and then I'm going to lay that over my window. So I'm going to turn it over. This is the inside, you know, it's the back side, the ugly side. Now I'm going to put tape all the way around your outer edges, because now we're actually sticking it to the front of the card. And we have our card, so this is the front of our card. And then when we fold it, that's the front, okay? So make sure you're attaching it with your bottom. And I'm just going to line that up, centered on the front of the card. Now we have our see-through window card, okay? So now before we do our with sympathy, we're going to open that card up, go to the inside, so we turned it over. Now this is where, you know, if you had the trifold card, that can fold over onto there if you wanted to. But I wanted to use a text insert because I just wanted it a little bit loose. So for attaching a text insert, this is what I normally do. I normally take, now I would use my black Sharpie, but I don't want it to show through in case I need to use the sympathy card, but I'm just going to use my highlighter. And I'm going to put, so the score is right here, and this is the bump. I'm just going to put tape right along the bump of my score. Now I could use my 1/2 inch tape, and it's going to put adhesive on both sides of my score. Now you don't want it all the way, like I have it too far up right here because my text insert only goes, you know, 1/4 inch from the top and 1/4 inch from the bottom, so I was a little bit too high right there. I'm just going to peel that off. Don't want too much tape up there. And usually I'm more controlled with my tape gun, but I think it was the first time using it since we re-inked it. So now I used my 1/2 inch. I have a little bit on this side of the score, a little bit on that side of the score. If I'm using my 1/4 inch tape gun, then I probably would do 2 strips, one on each side of that score. Now I'm going to take my card. I hold it at a 90-degree angle. I take my folded text insert. Now because this already has printing on the inside, make sure that this backside is the backside of your card. If you do it the other way, it'll be upside down. So we want to fold it, make sure your words are right side up, hold my card at a 90-degree angle, and I'm just going to set that fold of the text insert right up to the score. And I fold it like this. I hold it because if I'm doing it flat, I might actually go over that score and then it's going to buckle on the inside. If I'm holding that at a 90-degree angle, then I can control that and I can just set it right into that score. So again, tape on our score, fold our text insert, and attach it right up to that score. And then just fold our card flat, and then it attaches a little bit on both sides. So, but it still is a little bit loose, but it still covers up that window. But it still is a little bit loose in there. I have to get a drink of water.
You want a new bottle?
What?
You got plenty?
Do you want to go get
Want one?
Yes, please. My throat's a little dry. So anyways, now we have our with Sympathy. And now it's important not to use if you're using a wet glue, don't use too much, okay? Because you just want little tiny bits of glue, and it doesn't even have to be over the whole thing. You can just put it on some of the bigger areas. And then you can put your with Sympathy however you want on your card. So I am going to use our,
It's loose.
thank you,
You're welcome.
I'm going to use our micro dot adhesive sheets. Okay, so which I've used before, and I'm not sure which part of this. I've used it a lot actually. So I'm going to take the backing off, and there's all kinds of little micro dot adhesive things on there. And I'm going to set my with Sympathy inside there. I'm going to put the covering back on, and I'm just going to kind of burnish that to pick, and that's going to pick up the dots. Wherever the with Sympathy is, it's going to pick up the dots that are behind it. And I'm going to open that up again. And then just very carefully peel that off of there. And there will be dots wherever your words were, if I haven't used it to this sheet too much. But it did stick, so I should be good. But this way you don't have to worry about a wet glue getting on your acetate. And the wet glue is the main reason why I put the non-printed side, which is the glossier side, up. So you can put your with Sympathy wherever you want. I liked it near the top because then you could see more of the stars in the sky to go along with your saying that's on the inside. Now, I do like to, instead of like rubbing over the top, I do like to turn it over on a clean work surface and just rub from the back to attach that. So just turn it over and rub from the back. And there we have our Sympathy card with our printed acetate. All right. We have 5 cards and our scored card holder, so we just finished number 3. But we're doing a shaker card, which is going to take us a little bit longer. But let's go on to our wedding card, which has acetate with it. So here's our wedding card. And I did not pre-weed mine, so you just have to bear with me while I weed mine. So with this card, we have an A2 scored card. We have a piece of gold Miri lava. We have a piece of glitter, We have, this one was cut with one of our frame dies. So sometimes when you're cutting and you have a die that's been used a lot, you'll get, some, loose stuff around your edges. I like to just take my fingernail and go around there, just to get the little sniblets off. Technical term, my little sniblets. You certainly could take like a razor blade or one of those razor knives or whatever and do the same thing. But I always just take my fingernail to get my little sniblets off. Make sure you poke out now yours probably came attached with this piece in it. So that piece all comes out. So we have 3 of these frame dies, one that says congrats, one that says, is happy birthday, and the other one, is thanks. So we cut that, and then you have a white one, so pop that one out, and pop out your little pieces. And you can leave it just as congrats, because then you could use it for an anniversary card too, or you can pop out the on your wedding. Just these pieces are a little bit small and they might be loose in your package. So you have the word on and then your wedding. If you got extra words, because there's congrats, I think, on your baby also, then you have a bonus, but not everybody got those. They are part of the die. Just depended on the size paper that we used. And again, you can just use the word congrats. You don't even have to put the on your wedding, because then you could use it for something else. Now you do want a scissors, and if you have a more detailed scissors, that might be good. I just have my big honkin' one. That's okay.
They like your word sniblets.
Okay, so now I'm using the white and layering it over the top. So I'm actually going to take a scissors, and like I said, if you have a more detailed scissors, it's probably better than a big honkin' one. So I'm just going to kind of cut my word out of there. Just very carefully cut your congrats out. So you're cutting the bottom of the C, and you're cutting over on the side of the S. Yes, these are not the best scissors for doing this, but we make do, don't we? Okay. You should see all the sniblets on my floor. Sniblets on my picture. Okay, so this one is printed on our acetate as well. However, it is an adhesive, so you can peel it apart. Just kind of bend one of the corners, and it's adhesive backed. And we are going to set the adhesive onto our glitter paper. See, this is a little bit glittery in here. It might be hard to see through the camera, but it is glittery in there. So we're just going to put our adhesive backing onto our glitter paper. So I don't know if you can see the glitter up there. But then we're just gonna, we can trim that off. So any place that like printed whiter, that's where the glitter paper is going to shine through there. So where you have very dense printing, like down here, you don't see as much of the glitter. Where you can see up here, like in the silver, the gold, the white flowers, it's all sparkly, okay? So the adhesive backed acetate, you print on the acetate side, the backing comes off, and then you can attach it to like a glitter paper. Now we are going to attach this onto there. So we're going to turn over. So let me get the acetate out first. So we used this acetate, the adhesive backed inkjet printable acetate. Now there is not a laser adhesive backed acetate. There is only an adhesive backed inkjet. Okay, so you could do the same thing. You just use either a spray, if you're using a laser, you could use a spray adhesive and just spray it, you know, set it down, or you could just put adhesive on the outsides of your picture. So, but we used the adhesive backed inkjet printable acetate. Now we are going to turn over our congrats because we want to put tape on the back side of it. So put tape on the back side. Now, sometimes, depending on what I'm doing, I will put just like a tiny drop of glue on my congrats just to keep it attached, so it's not all loose. I'm not going to do that this time, just because we are putting it directly on what was printed. We're putting it right on the printed side. So, but I put adhesive around here. And now, again, like I did before, I like to kind of look straight through my window because then I have a better idea of where I'm putting it, especially with this one. You can't see it at all. So I put adhesive on the back of my window and I kind of line it up. Now, again, don't set it down and push it because it'll stick to your work surface. So I'm just going to kind of line it up in there and then just kind of pick it up, turn it over, and then I can give it a push from the back. Now always make sure you're turning it over onto a clean work surface, which I can't always say that mine in my stamp room is clean, but here it usually is. Now we're going to put more tape on the back of here, attach it to our Miri lava, and then we'll attach that to our card. So go ahead, attach your picture in your window, turn it over, give it a push from the back, put adhesive on the back of that layer. Now if you want, you can put some right down the middle too. Then we're going to attach that to our Miri lava layer. Oops, make sure you're centered because there's nothing worse than having to pick it up. So when I'm centering, I like to look at my two sides and my top because they all should be pretty equal borders. So if I look at my two sides to my top, then by the time I place it, it should be, keyword is should be fairly straight. Not perfect, because nobody's perfect, should be fairly straight. Then we can put adhesive on the back of here and attach that to our card front. And again, I opened my card up. So again, adhesive on the back of here. And we're going to attach that to our card front. All right. Now, we could leave it just like that. Very pretty. Although the white words kind of set off and they pop a little bit more, the white words on there. So it does look fine just like that, but we're adding the white words right on top just to make it pop a little bit more. Now, You can put this in your microdot adhesive sheets, or you can use a glue, which I do have, like just a glue pen, some right here. And then sometimes I have my Post-it notes here that I use a lot. I seem to be out of my Post-it notes. When I'm gluing, I do like to have a Post-it note in my area, just because then it doesn't get all over my work surface. So Post-it notes are a handy tool, because then you can just throw that away and not have to start with a whole new work surface. So we're placing our congrats on there. And again, I don't like sticking from that top part. So if you have a clean Post-it note, you could take that and rub it over the top. Or you can turn it over on a clean work surface and just give it a little bit of a push. And you can put your other words on there if you'd like, or you could leave them off. A tweezers might be kind of handy right now. You don't want to get your sticky fingers on the picture, that's for sure. I'm just going to attach all my words. Actually, I have a wedding to go to in September, so I'll have a card made already. Now I didn't, for dotting your eyes, you could use the, you could use just a little gem or a little pearl to dot your eye. All right, so there's our wedding card. How y'all doing? Am I going too fast for you?
Quiet?
Yep, you guys are quiet, so you must be concentrating. Okay, so we have our wedding card. Now the last one, this one's going to take a little bit to get through. Is our shaker card, which is our graduation card. So that's that one. So you can pull out that kit. I had extra pieces around here somewhere, so let me find those.
Anybody still with us, or did they all go away?
Alrighty, so you have, your foam tape doesn't quite look like this because you have like 2 little rows of it. I just have some extra foam tape. What I normally do is I take my foam tape and I cut it into 4s. So go ahead and cut your foam tape into 4s. You for sure need one of the strips for around the window. The other one is just extra for layering other stuff up. And again, yours won't be quite this long because I'm just using some extra stuff that I had. I'm not using some from your kit. Yours is a little bit shorter, but I did test it with what was in your kit. If you cut your one strip into 4s, your other one, you might need a little bit off of that one. Okay, so cut your foam tape into 4s, and then the other pieces, let's go through the other pieces that we have in here. We have some little shakies, some little discs that I thought were super fun, some gems. So now these gems, there's extra on here, which you could use them on there. You could use them on the scored card holder, or you just have some extra gems. Then we have, now this is our regular acetate. You should have 2 of them. So this is the regular laser acetate. Then you have a piece of holographic, and this one's called confetti holographic, and it kind of matches the little shaky stuff, so it's kind of fun. Your words, your grads, which you might have to poke a few things out, just some little sniblets off of there. Then you have your window card and window overlay, and you have a text insert. So we can put the text insert aside. We're going to start with our 2 pieces of acetate and our window card, our overlay, and our foam tape, and then our shaky stuff. Now, we have little window overlay kits. So these are just singles. So they have a window card and the overlay. Now these are available on our website as either a square window or an oval window. So it'll make you pick square or oval. Okay, so first we need to attach our acetate. If you open the card up and put the bump side down, you'll have your window on the right. So you want to have that opened up and flat just like this. Then you want to have your overlay, and we're going to attach acetate to both the back side of the overlay, which it doesn't matter either side of the overlay. And then we also want to attach it to the front of our window. Now I'm going to caution you, and I've got to get my marker out. When you're attaching your adhesive to the card, do not put, you don't want your adhesive too close to that window, because you don't want to see it. So you want to stay about 1/4 of an inch away from your window. And this is when you're working with your foam tape and your adhesive to attach your acetate. Because you don't want, if I put my adhesive right there, when I put my window overlay over the top, I'm going to cover it up. If I got my, so this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to put your adhesive too close to the window, because if you do that, when you put your overlay, you're going to see your adhesive. So the pink is a no-no. Do not go that close. You want to stay on the black line all the way around. Okay, this is for doing our acetate on the front of our window card, and then we're going to attach our acetate. So we're going to put adhesive where the black line is. Do not, so this is, no, not that close. No. So do not get that close to your window, because otherwise you'll see it. So I'm going to put this one up to the front, and then I'm going to bring my one over here. I'm going to take my adhesive, go around my window, and this is on the front of my card. Do not get too close to your window. And then we're going to take one of our pieces of acetate and just attach that right over the top of our window. Okay, so we have our acetate, and this is on the front of our card. So this is the card front. Then we're going to take our window overlay. Doesn't matter which side, because both sides are the same. And we're just going to put adhesive. And we're just going to attach our other window overlay over that window. So now we have 2 pieces with acetate. We have our window overlay, that has acetate on the back. We have our card front that has acetate on the front. Now we're going to start with our foam tape. When you're doing the foam tape, you want to follow the same rule. You want to keep it a little bit further out. If we put our foam tape, so this is your no-no, do not put your foam tape too close to that window, otherwise you're going to see it. Okay, so you want your foam tape to be on that black line. So again, stay a little ways away from that window. We're going to attach it. Now this foam tape is pretty good at ripping, and you want to touch your edges all the way around. You want to make sure that these are touching. So you want to touch your edges of your foam tape. And if you want to check it out as you go, you can just kind of take that and lay it down. Yep, I'm good. But then you go all the way around. But you want to make sure that you don't want any gaps in your foam tape, because if you have gaps, then your shaky stuff will fall out. Okay, so you want to make sure they're touching all the way around. Now the end one is the trickiest one. Question?
Could you put the foam tape on the overlay instead?
You could put the foam tape on the overlay, but then you have to bring this part down and you can't see where you're lining it up. So if you have your foam tape on here, then you can't see where you're lining it up, because you really need to put your shaky stuff in your opening. Where if we put our shaky stuff just in here and it didn't have the foam tape, we might then hit the foam tape if we have it on the back of the overlay. I think it's just easier when you can see what you're lining up. So that's why I put it on the front of this versus on here.
I think she understands. Thank you, Gil, for that great question.
I just took a, excuse me, I just took a little bit off of here because I need to put just a little bit in here. Okay, so,
She understood.
okay, so we're good? Okay, so now we are going to put, and I'm just going to talk about shaky stuff for just a minute. Oh, the other thing we need to do is we are going to be attaching this onto here, and we have foam tape around here, but now we need to add some foam tape down on our overlay so that it's all at the right height. So we already have foam tape going around the window, which will be right here, but we want to add some foam tape at the bottom. Okay, depending on how much you like foam tape, maybe you want to add some in the middle. Depending on how far you put your foam tape out, you could put some, at these very edges. You just don't want this foam tape to interfere with the foam tape on your card. But we want to put some extra foam tape here so it's all at the same height once it attaches around the window. Okay. So now we are going to put our shaker stuff in here. I usually recommend to take your backing off, then put your shaker stuff in, take all your backings off, and then put your shaker stuff in, and be very careful not to touch this, because if you put your shaker stuff in and you touch here, it might go kaboom and you end up with shaky stuff everywhere. Likewise, if we put our shaker stuff in first and then we go to peel this off, again, our fingers might stick to it, pull it up, and then shaker stuff everywhere. So my recommendation is to take all of your backings off. Of what you're attaching it down to and your overlay. So I have my shaker stuff off of there. Keep that clear. Then I'm taking my shaker stuff, or my backing off my foam tape on my card front. And then our shaker stuff is going to go in here. Now it's important when you're putting your shaker stuff in there, especially depending on what you're using for your shaker stuff, this stuff doesn't fly very much. Don't do it from up here, because if you do it from up here, especially if you're using like micro beads or something like that, if you do it from too high up, they'll bounce everywhere, okay? Or if you're doing something really fine, which I don't recommend, like a fine sand or stuff, because that just seems to work its way through the adhesive no matter what. Always do it very close to your surface. Don't do it from up here. Do it very close to your surface. And I might have given you extra shaker stuff. So you definitely don't want to put too much in there. Actually, I think I probably gave you a fairly good amount because this stuff is fairly flat. But take it and either snip off a corner if you think you're going to use it all, or you can open it up and just kind of set it on there. And you don't want it in one heap because then it may get stuck. So kind of spread it out. Yeah, actually I don't think I need to use it all. So we have our shaker stuff. Be careful. Do not touch your adhesive. Okay, so when we have this and it's kind of, you want it kind of flat. You don't want it in one big pile. Then you're going to take your overlay, your acetate side down. You have your foam tape, and you're just attaching that right over the top. Then you're going to give it a push all the way around to make sure that it's in there. And then you have your shaker. Yay! Then you're going to take your little guys and you can decide where you want them. Now, before we do that, why don't we go ahead and we put our word. Now I did print on the front of our text insert and on the inside. So the words, you can kind of see through that window. So let's go ahead and do that first. So open up your card. And again, I'm going to get this out of the way. For our text insert, I'm going to draw, we have our bump. This is the inside of our card. We're going to put adhesive right on top. Now last time I used my my ½ inch. This time I'm using my 1/4, and I'll do 2 lines of adhesive, one on either side of that score. With my ½ inch, I just did 1. We're going to take our folded text insert, and there's words on both the inside and the front. And I just did that so you could see through the window a little bit. I'm holding this at a 90-degree angle. I'm setting our text insert right on the inside, and then I'm folding our card. So then you can kind of see what you're working with, and you can decide how high or low to put your people, okay? Remember that you are going to have this going across there. I did use some foam tape on the back. Now, I don't want to use a lot of foam tape behind the people because you're going to see them. You might see them on the inside of your card depending on how much they open it up. So I did put most of my foam tape down near the bottom and on the outside edges. And you should have some extra foam tape. So I put my foam tape on the bottom. And then maybe a little bit on the outside. Now this hat right here ends up being off to the edge for sure. And part of this one ends up being off. Okay, so I have my foam tape. Peel the backing off there. And you can decide how high or low you want your graduates. So that's up to you. As high or as low as you want them. And then for your confetti holographic paper, you do need to snip off the one side. So you can, if you want to measure it, if you're going to do it on a personal paper trimmer, it is 4 inches. If you're just going to go for it, just do it. And then your graduate, this one you can trim also because it can go almost edge to edge, or if you want to snip a little bit off, if you want to border all the way around the outside. And here we are cutting a little bit off, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. Then it's a little bit crooked, so then you cut it a little bit more. So, and then this, let's see, did I pop it up? Yep, I popped all of these up. So I popped the graduate up, and then I popped this one up also. So I popped my graduation words up. Okay, and then I also popped that one up. Yep. I did not put my foam tape, I put it a little, I didn't put it right up near the top, right up, because it's going to overlap this just a tiny bit. So just leave it a little ways away from that top. How are we doing for time?
We are 7:27.
Oh, see, last year I think I was doing classes in an hour. I must be going slower, which that's either a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. But you guys don't have many questions, so I must be going a little bit slower. Okay, so then we have our graduation card, and then if you want to put some gems on there, you can, and that's up to you. These do need to be snipped apart, or if you want to put them in a row. And then if you're done with that, the last thing we're going to do, I don't have a tweezers up here, but the last thing we're going to do is the scored card holder. Yeah, last time I thought I was just going slower because it was my first class that I taught in a while, but now this one's about the same time length too, so I don't know. As long as you guys don't mind.
Mary Beth said the speed is pretty good. She would say she's a little slow, so I think you're right on target for others.
Okay, good. And you can always go back and re-watch me. I'll get it posted on YouTube. Probably not tonight, it'll probably be tomorrow morning. So anyways, then we have our graduate card. I think I have a graduation. I do have a graduation. I have a friend's daughter that's graduating this year. So there, I'm all set for cards for a lot of people. So, and hopefully then you will be too. So the last thing that we're going to go on to is our scored card holder. So it's this kit, and in here, it's a very simple kit, so this one won't actually take that long. It's more the assembly. We had to fold it in order for it to fit in the kit. And then you have a piece of pattern paper, you have words, and I actually just printed those words on my computer. And then you have some magnets. Now, I do want to talk about magnets for a minute. Not all magnets are created equal. So, if you put the magnets like directly on top of each other, you don't get as good of a grasp, I should say. So if they're, wherever you're getting, like when I have them just on top of each other directly, they're like hardly sticking. But if you can find wherever they're going to like pull together, that's where you want them, even if they're off-centered, because nobody's really going to look at them and say they're off-centered, but you'll get a better grasp that way. And why that is, I don't know. If there's somebody that knows about magnets and wants to comment, feel free. But yes, in certain places they'll hardly stick, and then in other places they'll grasp really well together. So you want them placed where they are really grasping, okay? And it's not going to be directly on top of each other. I don't know why. I'm not an expert on magnets. So that's my little spiel on magnets.
Susan Bainbridge said, the cards are awesome, Sarah, thank you. And Mary Beth Robeson says, hey, Stamplistics spends 4 hours with us. You are all good.
I think I'd fall asleep if I was here for 4 hours. So anyways, I gave you a piece of pattern paper just because I wanted to do something simple just to show you the fold of this scored card holder. And then I gave you a couple 2x6 pieces of paper. And now you can do what you want with this. If you want to put the pattern paper on this bottom part, I did, if it's going to fit on here, I did trim about, what is that, a half an inch off of there. And then I put a little strip right there. Or if you want to use your pattern paper on the top flap, you know, where you need to trim some of it off. So the pattern paper is there for you to use however you want, okay? And then likewise, these papers are in there to use however you want. If you just want to use the blue, if you have yellow, you know, if you just totally want to use 2 yellows and you don't want to use the blue and red at all, that's fine. This one is cut a little bit long, so you're going to trim that. But like these, I cut them a little bit wider just because I figured maybe you could take like a border die if you wanted to do something a little bit more decorative, and you could cut it with a border die instead of just doing something straight. So I'm going to let you do that part on your own. I'm going to talk about the folding of this, but so for the bumps are in, so we're just going to talk about the folding of our scored card holder first. The bumps are in, and you fold on the scores, and make sure that you take your hands behind here because you don't want it to, you know, rip in here at all. So take your hand and just bend that in on both sides. And then you also have, this is your top, the part with the curve is your top, and there's 2 scores, so fold on both of those scores. And then on the bottom, these 2 little tabs go to the inside, and then that folds up to make your bottom. So basically what's going to happen is tape is going to go on top of here, and I'm not going to do it midair like this. I just want you to see how it folds before. Now you do want to use a strong adhesive on here. So I do not recommend, like the dot rollers are not recommended, or the little snails, because they won't hold very good. Actually, I am not a liquid glue kind of gal, but my ATG works really good. or even a liquid glue that's going to hold permanently works really good. So I'm going to turn this over. And I am going to put this paper on first, just so I'm not messing around trying to push down. You could put this on after the fact because it's just a little thing, but I am going to put my pattern paper on there first. And while I have my ruler here, I'm just going to measure that. Yeah, it's about a 1/2 inch that I cut off of here. So I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch off. Let's see, so it is a little over 3 inches. Oh, I've got a ruler on the other side. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to cut 1/2 inch off, and I'm going to attach my 1/2 inch. Actually, I could have cut a little bit more off of there, but 1/2 inch right there, and then the rest of it I'm just going to attach right here on the bottom. It's just a little bit easier to do some of the attaching while it's totally flat. If you can certainly do it after the fact, but you just want to be gentle when you're pushing stuff down. You never want your glue hanging out, so I'm just going to attach this one. This is our little, that's this piece right there. And then I'm just going to take this and attach it. And if you attach it closest to that score, it's going to be closest to this bottom edge. So it's going to leave this part open for our magnets. I don't sell the pattern paper. I just got some just so we could decorate this box fairly quickly. Okay, so now we have fairly easy decorations on there. And I am going to just put one of these magnets on to begin with, because then I can push it down pretty hard. So some of you have them like they might be connected together, and others of you have them loose, because I was leery on ordering magnets, so I ordered one set, and then I ordered the wrong set the second time. So, okay. Now this one we're just going to hold off on, and I'll give you my trick for attaching this one later. Don't lose it though. So now we're going to put adhesive on our tape tabs, so where our X is. And you already saw how to fold it together. So let's just do a refresher for folding, just because you want to know how you're going to fold it. So these two little doojobbies fold in. These kind of fold in, and then you're going to take the one side and attach it, and kind of use your fingers to attach it really well, and then you can take your fingers over to the other side and attach it. So we're going to turn it back over. Use your tape right here. And again, if you have tape hanging out, you want to push it back to the inside. But you want to be generous on your tape right here. So if you are using a 1/4 inch tape, go ahead and put 2 or 3 strips of tape. Especially because if you're going to put a lot of cards in here, and it's going to be, really full, you want as strong a piece of there so it doesn't pull apart when you get your cards packed in there. Okay. So I put tape on my tape tabs. So it's decorated on the same side that I get tape on my tape tabs. Then I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to push my 2 little bottom ones in. And kind of at the same time, I'm going to bring one side over and form one side of my box. take my fingers and just kind of really give that a push, because you want to push that really well so it adheres. Then you're going to take your other side and you're going to do the same thing. Now, if you're using a wet glue, you might have to hold that for just a little bit until it tacks up, okay? Or you could set something, you know, lightly on top of that just to keep the like a Post-it note pad, like a pad of Post-it notes. Something that's heavy, but not too heavy that it's going to smush it. Like, you don't want to use your big tape thing like this, but you could use something that's just going to put a little pressure, or you can just stand there and chit-chat and watch TV and just kind of hold it if you're using a glue. Okay, so we made sure those were attached. Now, for our other magnet, I want you, instead of going like this and doing that, I want you to find the place where it grasps it the best. That's where mine did. So you want to find the place where it actually, like I can set it on here and it's like hardly grasping at all, but I want to just find the place where it's actually pulling together. Then you're going to peel the backing off, because if you just willy-nilly do it, the magnets won't stick. And then you are going to very carefully fold your lid, attach that. Now you're going to pull it apart, but you're going to need to give it a good push just to make sure that magnet's attached. And then it should pull together. Now, the one other thing, you don't have to use magnets on here. I have done ribbon. So I've done a thing of ribbon just attached to the back that folds around and ties into a bow on the front. I've done a band. So I'll take a band of paper, and you can have a band that goes this way around, or you can have a band that goes this way around, just out of paper. So you don't have to use magnets. You could get creative and use other things. I've used Velcro too, but sometimes when you use Velcro, it sticks so good that the paper kind of bends as you pull it up. So then you're going to decorate the front however you want to decorate, and that's totally up to you. You could, what I was saying was, if you have extra gems on here, so you could take your extra gems, you could put, you know, a row of gems right here, you could put it at the end of the 4 and the U, you could put, you know, some down here and a couple up here, so you can use your extra gems however you want to use them. Now, for our cards, so we have some of our cards. Depending on how many layers you have on your cards will depend on how many cards fit in your scored card holder. Now, our shaker card is fatter than normal. So if we're using just regular cards like this without a whole bunch of foam tape, you will get like 5 of them in there. If you had cards that had nothing on them, you can get a package of 10 cards, 10 envelopes in there. But that usually doesn't happen because there aren't too many people that totally don't decorate their cards and envelopes. So, because in here, in this package, is a 5 count. So, but it makes just a cute little gift. If you want to give some cards to somebody, you could put them in here, you know, do ribbon around there, do a band, do some twine, whatever you want, and you have this little card holder to give out your cards in. So I think that is all I have for you tonight. On Saturday, I will be doing the one-of-a-kind virtual event. We're doing the black and white butterflies, and that is at 10:15 on Saturday. I will see you then. Then next week, Thursday, we have our Under the Sea fish pop-up box. And then I'm designing my next craft along for one of a kind and my next class. Oh, I have a class sample here. So here's the cards we did, but let's look at, so this card right here, I was going to do something like this in this class, but I was waiting for this die, and they just came right after we had this one kitted. So this one will be in the next class. It is, it's using the acetate and the glitter paper behind it. This Just Smile is one of our new dies that's on our website today, as of today, and it's going to be a floral class. So it's going to be, you know, colors of spring floral cards. So that's one of them. The other one is my mom's birthday card. She just had a birthday.
77!
She's 77.
Are there any kits left for this Saturday?
They're actually, if you email me, I took them off the website. So if you're looking for a kit for this Saturday, email me, because I took them off the website because we were running so low on them. So there might be one or two more that I can put together. So anyways, this class will be April 8th, and it'll just be all florals. So I look forward to seeing some of you on Saturday to do our slider card and our black and white butterfly. Otherwise, here's what we did tonight, our life events cards with our scored card holder. I hope you all have a great night, and we'll see you on Saturday.
Done. And live video.